What is up, DTube Steem blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about earning Steem and real value. So I saw a Steemit article that was talking a little bit about power up or not power up, and it's very interesting when you've been earning Steem for around 2 years and real value. This is a very interesting topic. The way I think eventually where you want like the actually real value that people usually don't talk about or maybe unaware about. And yeah, because it's this thing, it's harder to sort of articulate for people because it sounds so pseudoscience. It sounds like I mean, it's harder to measure also, and it's like it almost gets weird to measure. But I mean, when it comes to real value, and the way I look at these blockchain systems eventually is you want to get to a point where you have built up people so much that they're basically working for free eventually because they are satisfied themselves at seeing other people grow and seeing themselves grow. That becomes the main enjoyment. That that's what I actually think in many ways what these systems are all about is that person is building up systems inside of themselves, and then they appreciate the new technology so much that eventually they're like, yeah, I got it. Like I can work now, and it's good. Like I can work for free. Like I think eventually people should get to a point where they don't even care if they can do like 10 or 20 posts and not even a single reward. That's the level of empowerment I think eventually you sort of want to get to, where people feel so empowered that they have built up these systems inside of themselves. So they're very stable, very, very stable. And I would say that this is actually the real value eventually. Because the way I look at it, like let's take money for example. Let's say we have $1. And the thing is, okay, people look at that dollar and they, in many ways, people sort of think, oh, okay, we have $1. If we give this dollar to 100 people, we give $1 to each and tell them to go do a work or to go do a job or something that we say, a task. Those 100 people, they are going to perform different. You're not going to get the same value from each person. There's some which you're going to get so amazing return that maybe they even would have worked for free. Maybe you could have just give them like 1 cent and they do as much as another person if you would give them $1. This is extremely interesting because that eventually creates this very interesting space you get into where a person, like you don't even have to give a person something. Like the return on that person is so high that it's like they would actually do it for free, but just for having it doing something on the surface. Okay, we'll give them some tokens or whatever, but it becomes this very interesting thing where you sort of realize eventually that if you build up the proper systems in people, and if you build up the proper systems in yourself, it's going to be like a steam engine, or like a train or something like that. The person is just going to keep on going by themselves, and very low maintenance, like very low friction, very low maintenance. It keeps on going. If you don't mess up with it, it keeps on going. Like that's eventually how you want like systems to work. But so the real value is actually well developed people and dedicated people. And this is like something where you really have to look at the long-term aspect, that time, with the time, energy, resource that needs to basically be pushed into a certain direction, and then people just going by themselves, right? You have proper systems where people have responsibilities, right? And it's win-win on all sides. That is actually when you see that that is the real gold, like that is the real value. um because people notice this with money. They notice that, okay, you can have a lot of money, but and if you give it away somewhere, and it can be a project, it can be to a person or whatever. Usually you don't get an ROI. Like usually the project fails, usually the money ends up nowhere, and you they kind of get to it gets annoying, because it seems as, well, I mean, just keep pouring. Like, let's say the money was water, and they have a bucket, and they keep pouring, like they have limitless water, and they can pour it in a bucket. But if the bucket keeps leaking, if there's a hole in the bucket, what's the point of the price then? Like, what's the point of how much value you have if it keeps leaking? Like, if something keeps leaking, if the project sucks, if the person is not dedicated, if the person is not giving some return that a person wants, because they have not developed systems inside of themselves, they have not developed responsibilities themselves, they have not built themselves up, then what's the point of pouring the water in the bucket? If it's just gonna keep leaking, it doesn't matter. And you can take that analogy with, for example, Steem blockchain. Yeah, you can have a mega high price, but what would it matter if it keeps leaking? Like, if there's always holes, right? It's just gonna keep on leaking, keep on leaking, keep on leaking, which is like, you really have to look at it from. This is where earned Steem gets really interesting. When you really look at this, then you realize, oh, wait a sec. We What you actually want is these people that are like built up, that is only going to come from real time, energy, resource invested. No free lunch here. That is like, it kind of removes most of the hype, which is kind of interesting in many ways, because a lot of the hype in the crypto industry, I know that, it's nice. People imagine a better future for themselves and all that, and that's nice. But when you really take a look at it, like, this is really the goal. Like, well developed, built up people that are responsible on a daily basis. Like, that's the real value, and that's something that people do not talk about, because it's very, like, it's sort of hard to articulate it, that, like, the amount of stuff one human being can do when they're truly dedicated to something. I mean, it's amazing, right? It's amazing. Like, the level of influence that kind of source can have, it's amazing. It's amazing. But then again, also people can make, like, if they're not like dedicated, it's like, it becomes annoying with like buckets with like leaking holes in them. So all of this stuff eventually comes down to try to make a system that runs as good as possible. You're probably never gonna, like, find all the holes, right? But then, I mean, what I think eventually this means is, I don't think it really is gonna matter that much if you have like liquid Steem or powered up Steem. Mm, because, yeah, you can earn a couple of more percent per year, and it's nice with like powered up Steem. But at the same time, that person, if they really like did content or something like that, or if they really invested in building up systems and other people, you can't even imagine like the massive return you're gonna get on that. And that's the thing also. I mean, it's like, people don't want to look at people as like, what's the ROI on this person, because it sounds like super weird, but clearly it's like the ROI on certain people is going to be amazing. uh, but the system aspect, like people building up systems in themselves and like becoming something, like there's no like label of like what a full-fledged human being is. Like nobody really knows what it is, right? We only know that human beings are pretty interesting creatures, and especially if they build themselves up, right? and and it's kind of interesting to sort of see this develop. So yeah, I mean, earning Steem is amazing, and I haven't really noticed, like when the price goes down a bit, like I haven't really noticed that of a big difference in like the earnings. Like sure, you see a little bit of a difference, but if price goes down a little bit, usually you earn more Steem. So and less people are posting, so it sort of balances itself out. So my main point is basically that like the real value is like when you really building people up and they become like self-sustaining, and when they realize they can do way more than they ever thought they could do, and uh, and that's nice. Like that is super nice. So yeah, Steem is kind of cool. It's amazing earning Steem. It's amazing then seeing the real value that comes that people did not expect. Yeah, have a great day, DTube and the Steem blockchain. Bye bye.